Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks, and you are checking out a first look video where we are going to be looking at Logic Alchemy. So it's kind of weird for me to say because I'm used to it being Camel Audio Alchemy, but nonetheless, this is part of Logic 10.2's update, so it's free for all current users. And if you're not a Logic user and you're checking this out and you're kind of deciding between DAWs and you want to produce with a synth, it's awesome that this synth is in there. It's one of the best synths ever made. So what is Alchemy? Alchemy is one of the most powerful synthesizers ever made. I'm not doing a review for it. You guys know I don't get very review-ish or review-heavy with my tutorials or videos, but this synth is a heavy hitter. It was, I believe, $249 when Camel Audio sold it. So just the fact that this is included with Logic X for $199 is kind of a no-brainer to me if I was starting out now as opposed to when I did. But Alchemy is a synth that can literally do it all, and I know that's a huge marketing buzzword that producers, DJs, sound designers, that we all hear all the time, that this synth can do anything. Well, this synth actually has 6 different types of synthesis engines at its disposal. So you take a synth like Synth or Massive or Spire. Some of those are virtual analog. Some of them are straight up wavetable, right? You don't have all these different types. It's not 6 different types of synthesis. Well, Alchemy has, I'll try to do it in the right order, but if I butcher this, I'm sorry, guys. It has additive, it has spectral, it has granular, it has resynthesis, virtual analog, and then it has sample-based manipulation or editing. So there's 6 different types, including the sample. I mean, the fact that it has additive is awesome for sound design. Virtual analog is cool because if you need to do your bread and butter sounds, you can. And then also the resynthesis is really fun, endless possibilities. And the sample, the sample playing is really fun. And Logic and Apple actually updated Alchemy from the version it was. The last version that Camel Audio had before they sold to Apple and kind of closed up shop was 1.5. There was rumors on the street that they were working towards 2.0. Well, it seems like Apple's version is the 2.0 version. There's a lot of updates to it, a lot of things that you could do that you can do now that you just could not do with 1.5. So it's really awesome. So let's just talk about the layout real quick. And again, this is just a first look. I'm not going to be covering everything in the synth. That would take hours. And ADSR, we're going to release a full tutorial course on this synth. So if you're interested in that, check back an ADSR course. Is probably by the end of this month. All right, so let's go through this first screen that you'll look at when you open Alchemy. You'll be looking at the presets, the glorious preset browser. The reason why I say glorious is it's one of the best, if not the most organized, well laid out preset browser in the software synthesizer industry. So you'll notice that it says right here, 3,109 presets. That's how much this thing comes with if you download the additional content. It did take a good 2.5 hours for me to download it. It's about 14 gigabytes worth of information. If you're wondering why it's so much, because this is a synth, remember that Alchemy is sample-based. So not only do you get the virtual analog samples, but you get a lot of audio samples that take up a good amount of space on your hard drive. So make sure you have that and a decent internet connection, or if you don't have a decent internet connection, you need to be a very patient individual. So the browser here, you have category and subcategory. The categories are things like arpeggiated, bass, brass, lead, right? And then within each category, you can get really specific with it. So acoustic, analog, bass, bell, whatever. So let's say I wanted an arpeggiation that is a dance that would fit techno. Here's everything that the developers think would fit techno. So then I just click on the actual preset over on the right. All right, that's kind of techno-y. So yeah, that is why it's an awesome browser. If you're just trying to find a sound to get inspiration, you can't really go wrong with just hunting around these different presets that you have. So we'll play a couple presets here. It is a first look after all. So let's look at a 70s synth intro. So again, you get your bread and butter sounds. You also get your really like that one. So here, it's really cool. You can actually, you can do user tags and comments, which is really nice. So I can, say, dope bass. We'll just go with that, right? We'll do close. So now it says dope bass, and you can really get in there and rate things. So if you want to remember it, you could rate this, 5. I really like this one. I like the release on it. So you can see some of them take a second to load. Those are probably coming more from the sample-based ones. All right, so there's obviously too many to go through here. There's 500 of them, but you can hear that there is just tons. And I will say that for the most part, most of these sounds are going to be more contemporary than the counterparts of like ES2 and EXS24. Speaking of EXS24, you can import the EXS24 instruments into Alchemy, which is just crazy to me. All right, so there's some basses. We'll look at some brass ones here. We'll do let's do brass response. Sorry for the wrong chord. I'm playing live. That was terrible sounding. So they're really cool sounds. I mean, again, if I was just starting out now, it'd be so awesome. When I started out with Logic 7, God, the sounds were awful in that. But I digress. So there's brass. We could do. There's even drums here. So kicks, I mean, really everything. You'd be hard pressed not to find a sound in this library. We'll look at some just leads real quick. One thing I do want to point out that I love about Alchemy is that most of the sounds, I hate when synths make it a pain to get a velocity sensitive action going. If you guys follow my tutorials, you'll know that I have tutorials for Serum, Silent, and Massive, all detailing how you can make those velocity sensitive. And a lot of these seem to be velocity sensitive, which I like. So there's just too many leads to go through. But you're getting an idea. Now, where Alchemy really excels, in my opinion, well, it excels in almost every area, but the pads, some of the pads are just insane on Alchemy. So let's listen to these. If you're wondering why that is, it's because of the different synth methods at your disposal. You have so many, but the ones that become really, I guess, important with creating really cool pads and atmospheres would be the additive, the spectral, and then the resynthesis. I mean, even the granular can make really cool pad sounds. All right, so we'll just play a couple more pads. I mean, just playing these, I just want to start creating a song instead of doing a tutorial, which is rare for a synth. Oh man, that one's a good one. All right, I need to stop playing these pads because I need to finish the actual tutorial. All right, so again, too much stuff to go through. I guess we can check out a string. So one's going to be good. It's loading for a while. All right, so it's just awesome sounds. I can't, keep saying how cool the actual sounds are in the synth. So that covers the browser tab. Let's look down here. The really cool thing about Alchemy, and this was in the old version as well, is you have these 8 different pads that can kind of act as like these different points in the sound that you can morph between. So by default, the one on the left is going to be the sound that loads up. And then if I go over here, right, it's a different sound. It's morphing between all these different effects, all these different things. Again, that'd be a whole tutorial in itself how to set that up. But so you can actually kind of be in the middle of 4 different types: slow build, slow resonant sweep, metal sweep, warm unison build, to get some crazy cool sounds. Right? And again, this is the one that loaded up. So it's pretty cool. And then you have the The arpeggiator in Alchemy is insane. So most synths will give you like a arpeggiator for the whole sound. Well, there are 4 different generators that can all use any of the 6 different synthesis techniques that we mentioned earlier. And you can have a different arpeggiation or a pattern for each different generator, and the generator is kind of like an oscillator. So that's cool. And then you get the effects. And the effects in Alchemy are lovely. If we do clear, we'll just do a new sound. You get all these different effects, and because Camel Audio made third-party effects, these effects are pretty darn good for a synth. I mean, a lot of them I actually would love to have outside of a synth. The acoustic reverb is nice. The convolution reverb is really nice. I mean, the fact that it has a convolution reverb is cool. You can do things like reverse it. I mean, there's just tons of cool stuff. You have the delay is really nice as well. You can have it routed into any of the filters. I mean, that's pretty cool. You have really good control over it. So there's 3 different reverbs. We'll just load up a few different effects. We'll load up acoustic reverb. We can load a bass enhancer, which is a cool one. And we can do fat compressor. So now we have these 3 different effects. Well, to see them, what you can do is you can click on any of these over on the left, or you can scroll on this right screen, and they will be in the order in which you have them. And you can rearrange the order if you like. So if you don't, if you want something happening before, maybe like EQ before the reverb, you can do all that. So it's extremely powerful and user-friendly. All right, let's move on to the next tab here, the main tab at the top. You have this this is mainly geared towards people who are playing live, I would say, and just if you want to kind of have a huge screen to do the morph and the performer tab, but all that's right here. So again, I would say it's mainly for live performance. Then next you get to the advanced tab. Now, I wish I could go through all this in this video, but it would take hours, literally like 2 hours. But this is generally where you're going to kind of manipulate and do the normal typical things you'd associate with synthesis. So you get these different sources right here, and these are like your oscillators. If you click on global, you'll see all 4 sources. Well, if you click on either A or B or C or D, you then see the really fine controls for that individual generator or oscillator. So it's not really an oscillator. It is, but it isn't, because you have these different controls. You can route it into any of the 3 filters in parallel or in series. You have all these different controls over here like additive, spectral, pitch, format, granular, etc. for each of the 4 generators. Again, click on global to see all of them. If you click in this is where you can load up your different waveforms. I do want to touch on that because you need to know that to just work the synth. To work any of the oscillators or turn them on, just click on A, B, C, or D. So right now we just have A active, hence the saw. Really cool little tidbit. The actual menu item where it says the waveform that you have loaded up is actually a volume meter, which is pretty cool. So we'll load up a complex one. We'll load up metallic 8. Right, so that's how you load up the actual sounds with inside, or the building blocks of the sounds. You get 4 of those. You have all these filters. You get a boatload of filter types, filters for days. You have a modulation, typical things down here like LFO, ADSR, so attack, hold, decay, sustain, release. You get a multi-segment envelope, sequencer, and a mod map. So again, it'd be too much to talk about all this, but this should give you a little idea of how to work the sound. You have two different filters. Again, they can run in parallel or in series mode. That depends how you set it up in your generators of either A, B, C, or D. So in the initial video, or first part of this first look, I mentioned that there are six different types of synthesis in Alchemy. So let's talk about that idea real quick. So you have virtual analog, you have saw, square, sine, you have all these different complex things, right? Well, this is all basically loading up not a wavetable, but it's loading up an audio file from how I understand it. But you have these different options. So we have over here, we have additive, where you can turn it on, and then you can actually can affect the sound in an additive way. You have format. We can do format synthesize like vocal sounds and all that stuff. All right, and then you also have, you can do granular. To do that, you're going to have to activate any of these different modes. So if you're wondering how to activate them, if you're like, why can't I activate it? If you just click on any of them, it'll kind of tell you, hey, this is what you need to do. So spectral. To enable this tab, you need to import a sample in spectral mode. So you can't just do it from loading up the virtual analog. You're going to have to load up a spectral wave from the sample. We'll look at that in a second. If you want to do granular, you need to import a sample in granular mode. Sample, same thing, right? So with virtual analog, you're going to get this, and then you can add a additive engine on top of it or use additive synthesis to manipulate it, as well as the format. So let's load up a new sound. And if you want to load up a sample, what you can do, let's talk about that because it's really cool. Go to the drop-down menu on one of your generators here, and we're going to do import audio. So you can do things like EXS factory, EXS24 factory samples if you'd like. You can just double click. So there's what it would sound like. And remember, we had these different mode types, additive, spectral, granular. So let's do granular, and we will do import. It will do its thing. And now we have choir, so it's F sharp. So there's what we did, and here's what's now granular is active. Remember, it wasn't active, so here's the waveform. And you have all these different kind of controls that are fairly, I guess, typical of granular synthesis. So let's go back. We'll do file clear. Let's go back, and we'll load up a audio sample again. So you can actually drag and drop things from your desktop. So we can just do, we'll just drag and drop this sample in real quick. And there it is. All right, so now we have this sample right here. Okay, so we can then choose the different types or the way that Alchemy is going to analyze that sample. Additive, spectral, add additives, plus spectral, granular, and then just straight up sampler. So let's say it's like a drum sample or something that you don't want pitched, where it's sped up or slowed down at a higher and lower pitches. We'll do let's do spectral for this, and we'll do import. So spectral takes a little bit longer than sample. All right, so there is that sound, and you have the spectrogram right there. It's really cool. You can do a lot of different stuff with this, but that's how you can load up your samples. It's kind of in this drop zone where you can either drag and drop, or you can load any of the Alchemy samples or any of your EXS factory samples. So a lot of great, I guess, just flexibility there. And you have these different modes that you can choose that will kind of dictate the sound or the quality of the sound. We just did spectral. You can do additive. So let's do, and then what we can do here, let's do additive import. So now it'll sound a little bit different. Right, so it's really cool. Tons of flexibility, guys. Again, if you're interested in a full-on tutorial course for Alchemy, stay tuned for that. It'll be on ADSR courses in the near future. All right, thank you so much for watching, guys. Like I said, I'm Echo Sours. If you have any questions or comments, pop them below. I'll stay pretty active on this video for a while. So if you guys have any concerns or things like that, shoot them my way, and I'll try my best to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.